Welcome back to another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And we are back after a long break through the holiday season with another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Amanda, I will probably need you to share it to the DC4L group.
Okay.
We probably also should have reconnected it to that group as well.
Remember, they took it away from StreamYard. Remember?
No, they
We
don't.
can't Did they
I
put
think
it back?
no, I think they only took away from the page. I think you could share it to the group.
Let me see.
Yeah, so if you can go check that out, or just share it to the page. Um, most of the views originate from that page or that group.
We might need to start over then. It's not even live on the page, but I reconnected the page.
Oh, if you reconnected, I'll add it on now. Then okay.
Yeah, go ahead. There you go. And then I'll share it to the group.
Let's see if it lets me add it. No, it's showing it lost access to that one.
The straight DC, because I connected it before we ended.
Okay.
Before we started.
All right, I believe it is showing that we're live now on that page.
Yeah.
So we'll see if, do you see it on the page?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I see the views are starting to come up. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. Got a lot to talk about as we head into the off season. So appreciate everybody who tunes in. If you're watching, be sure to get in those comments. Let us know who you are. Let us know where you are watching from. Let us know your favorite player. Let us know your thoughts about the season. This is kind of a open discussion. We have a couple topics we're going to touch base on, but other than that, we just wanted to get started back for the off season to get you guys geared up for some more Dallas Cowboys football talk. Before we get started, I see the views are starting to go up pretty quickly, so that means most of you guys are probably watching from the DC4L Facebook group. So thank you guys for joining us. If you haven't done so already, be sure to go to that YouTube channel also, DC4L Facebook group on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and you can also find me on YouTube at Bluff City Cowboys. So thank you guys. Be sure to get in the comments. This is an interactive show, so we'd love to hear your input. So before we get started with real Dallas Cowboys football, I just want to say on camera, congratulations again to Amanda for being named the 2024 Fan of the Year. So appreciate you and all that you've done for Cowboys Nation, and
thank you.
Really glad to see that you're getting recognized for all your hard work behind the scenes.
You know, it's really crazy when you think about it. I sent Marcus the video, but to anyone who doesn't know, so the Cowboys, I was surprised at the star by Joe Looney, the cheerleaders and Rowdy, and they came running in a room at me like that they stuck me into with my 12-year-old son. So he was too busy enamored by the cheerleaders to really he was just kind of in shock because there were cheerleaders there. Typical man, as you understood, but it was an honor. And then the Cowboys had us over to I know we're going to go into it, but just real quick, they actually mentioned DC4L in a packed stadium at the Tampa Bay football game, and that was just that was a dream come true. So thank you, Marcus.
And you must have been our good luck charm that day, because that was a game I don't think any of us expected to win.
I went in there expecting it to be like the game that that me and Tanya went to, the home opener. So we didn't expect to win. I couldn't believe it. I guess that's where I have to sit from now on. But yeah, it was great seats. We got to go down the sideline. Coach Parsons, who's been on the show, Micah's dad, got to hang out with him. Stacey Elliott, Zeke's dad, the fan of the year from 2022. His name's James. He's really awesome. And then, of course, I met Micah, Ceedee, Osa, Greg Ellis. Zeke was literally right in front of us. We missed Dak by like I guess probably a minute, because they let us go. So in the tunnels back by the locker room, you don't get to go there. Of course, that's not something you get to do, but they do a handshake line. And I guess it's an add-on to a ticket. I knew we were going to the game. I knew we had really great seats, but I didn't know what all it would entail. And when we got there, they told me, "Hey, we're sending you something on SeatGeek," and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And it was the sideline passes. So we got to go down there and got to hang out on the sideline. And then when we missed Dak, it was because they took us to the back, and we were literally right outside the locker room. And they come out and they pray, which is I think it's awesome. They come out and they pray in groups. So the first group was special teams, second group was your offense, the third group was your defense, and they each have their own little thing they do before going out to the field. So they come by and they slap everyone's, like, give you a high five and stuff, or a dap, as they're running by. It's really neat. So we did that. And then we went back down to the field, and then they took me on the field, which was probably the most nerve-wracking thing in my entire life.
Oh, I could imagine.
A lot of people. And they gave me this giant Super Bowl ticket, and that was really cool. I've got this massive Super Bowl ticket, and got to walk down there. And then my jersey that was hanging behind me, I don't know if I was supposed to, but I took a permanent marker with me just when I went, and now it's hanging on my wall because it's got a ton of autographs on it.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah, I was really excited about it. And I mean, CD, Micah, Osa, and Greg are the autographs on it. So I'll take it. Hey, those are pretty star-powered players to have right there. So can't complain.
Definitely.
And it was CD's last game. It was the last game CD played at. So I guess it was really good timing on that part.
It was.
Yeah. They gave me a choice of games, so that was the one I chose.
So I know you've been doing a lot of activities leading up to this. What activities are left before they officially name the NFL Fan of the Year?
So this coming Wednesday, I get to talk to Roger Goodell. So that's a lot of fun. We had to submit a question that we wanted to ask him.
So you had to get the question approved?
Well, that's kind of okay. So this sounds so terrible. And if anyone's listening out there that I shouldn't say this to, I'm sorry. But so in all the Zoom calls, so we've done two official NFL Zoom calls. We got to learn about how they plan for the Super Bowl and how the season, like the games, are scheduled. And then this last one, we got to talk to former players. So it's all the players that work for the NFL. It's called the Former Player Panel, and we got to speak with them. This one, we usually didn't submit questions, but with Roger, we had to. And I'm guessing it is partially so because you can't talk, like, you kind of mute yourself so that you can listen. It's more of a listening conference. I'm hoping this one says it's supposed to be more interactive.
Okay.
So I'm really hoping it is. But I submitted a question, and I think it's a really good question. I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all. And the next show, I will tell you what he says. So my question to Roger Goodell was, do you see the need in the near future to create a separate cap for quarterbacks so that it doesn't decimate a team? Or do you, if you're not going to do that, do you foresee a time where you might put a limit on, like, you can't go over this number? Like, I asked if they were going to actually cap the quarterback salary. It's just out of hand. And I wanted to know, yeah, you can have it, son. Okay. Sorry. You can, it's just, there's so much money for quarterbacks, and it really cripples a team. And I think that setting a separate salary cap, say, okay, $65 million is 65. And the problem is if you do it later rather than sooner, it's just going to keep going up. If they're going to do it, they need to do it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I think that was an opportunity. Or if he hasn't heard it, maybe it'll be, he reads it and it gives him an idea, because something's got to be done. The quarterback market is out of hand. Absolutely out of hand. So, but yeah, so there's that. And then just to finish up, so we'll do that. There is another Heart of the Fan, which is a PFUFA, which is the Ultimate Fan Association and NFL program. The Ultimate Fan Association is very, very limited. It's very special. You have to get in that club, you have to be invited, and then you have to be drafted into it, much like the NFL draft. But they have a thing that's called the Heart of the Fan, And I just did that yesterday, and there'll be a second one to that. And they do partnerships with players to share their stories, to fans to share their stories. And then, of course, the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl's coming up, and that comes with a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff.
So you are going to the Super Bowl, right?
I do. I have two tickets to the Super Bowl, 2 tickets to NFL Honors.
Okay.
It's airfare, transportation, 2 tickets to the Super Bowl, hotel room, everything's included.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then NFL Honors, you get to walk the red carpet. Last year they got on the sidelines, like at the Super Bowl, you got on the sidelines. So I'm hopeful. There's some other things I'm not going to go into too much detail, but yes, it comes with two Super Bowl tickets, airfare, the whole 9 yards, and it's a 5-day trip.
Okay, so you're going to all the activities?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, congratulations again. That sounds like a very high honor.
Yep. And then they announce at NFL Honors. So if you watch it, that's where they will announce the Ultimate Fan of the Year. And there are a lot of really, really good contestants. Like there are a lot of really, really good nominees. I am very impressed. And it's like having a new family, kind of.
Yeah.
Because there's a Facebook group and we're all there. And they've only been doing this since the COVID season.
Okay.
That's when this started. Oh, this is really cool.
That alcohol?
Yes. Okay. So this is real. I'm not going to open it. I don't know. Can I show it on? I don't know if that would get us in trouble.
I don't think it will.
Okay. So this is Captain Morgan puts on the contest, but this is the box that it comes in. And it's laser etched. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So NFL Fan of the Year with your name. It's really neat. It came with 2 really nice cups. And then I got all sorts of stuff. I got this really nice like varsity Letterman jacket like I'm in high school. And that's funny because I lost mine. So now I have a better one. And it's they do a lot of stuff for the Fan of the Year. And then, of course, it'll come with stuff in the future, too. They're the Fans of the Year from 23 are on the sidelines every game they're at. They hold the flag. They get to go out there and do like the warm-ups. It's really neat. So
okay. So Jeff asked the question, do you think you're going to be in the running for Fan of the Year? What do you think your chances are?
So just real quick, if you haven't voted, go vote, y'all. It's really neat. Go vote. It's at NFL.com/honors. You can just type in NFL Fan of the Year and vote for me. You click the link and you'll scroll down and see me. There are a lot of really good candidates. I can say that there is nobody that has a community like DC Farrell. I mean, it's really hard to stack up 150,000 people plus a Facebook page that reaches 80,000 just followers, and then the reach is 10 to 15 million. But there are some awesome people. I don't even know. Like the NFL actually chooses, like the way the vote works. There's levels to it. So there's all sorts of different rules. The NFL voting counts for so much. Community service and give back initiative, what you've done to further your team's fan community. There's a lot of different variables. So I'd like to think that, I might be up there in the running, but we'll see. Got to have a speech ready. I know that. Maybe, I don't know. So it's just an honor to be nominated. Like, it's not even if I win, that's crazy. Don't get me wrong. But a dream of mine was when I started this whole thing was for DC Farrell to be known by the Dallas Cowboys. And DC Farrell is now known by the Cowboys. It's been posted on the social media page for that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, our numbers have gone absolutely out of this world growth wise. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. And for some of you that don't know, there are a lot of players, current and former, who follow the page.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people
share our content.
Yeah, there are people inside the Cowboys organization who follow us. This organization is really a lot bigger than any of you guys could ever expect, and that's all thanks to your support. So thank you guys for all you do for the DC Farrell Nation.
Makes me want to cry. That's just so when I got DC Frail, it was less than because it was a kid who had created it, and he was literally like in his teens, so he didn't want anything. It was way bigger than he ever anticipated, and it was a mess. Anyone who was in DC Frail 9 years ago knows it was a disaster, and it took a long time, but we curbed it around, and now community work, charitable giving, ticket giveaways, memorabilia giveaways, fantasy football. Just every year there's a little bit more, and now we've got some really big things that are possible. This thanks to Fan of the Year that have really opened up doors for us, and I'm really excited about it. So, and yes, players are retweeting our content. And if you're not careful and you say anything about Demo on the Facebook page, she might come and correct you. He tried to make a bet with one of the people saying he wasn't going to be ready for 2025. He's a feisty one. He's one of my favorites.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
All right, so we got a lot of people watching, but a lot of people commenting. Before we get started with the show, just want to give a shout out. Thank you, Cy Witherspoon, for joining us tonight from X. Johnny Dan Alanese joining us from Facebook. Thank you for tuning in. We also have another person from the admin group, Brian Tanner, joining us. Ralph Shelton, thank you for tuning in on the Facebook page. Looks like a new name, so I appreciate you joining us tonight.
Welcome.
We also got Jeffrey Dunnigan joining us, a longtime regular, so appreciate you tuning in. Jason Curtis joining us from Facebook also. Appreciate you joining us. Candace Ruiz, another regular. Appreciate you tuning in. And then we also have Ray Dean joining, and I think that's pretty much everybody who's commented. So we got a lot more people watching. So if you're there, if you're a first-time watcher, be sure to get in the comments. Let us know who you are, where you're watching from. If you got any questions, any comments about what we're talking about, please feel free to join the conversation. So
yes, this is all running on you guys. We love doing the show. So
we have a long off season ahead of us. We have a lot we can discuss, but today our main focus is going to be the coaching dilemma. So we definitely would love to get you guys' thoughts on what's been taking place and what you think will happen this time next week. Because we're in the playoffs, I kind of planned on doing this episode and then picking back up after the Super Bowl. But Mike McCarthy's contract ends next Wednesday. So if something happens next week, we probably will jump back on live again Wednesday or Thursday so we could talk about it. But right now, we're just going to go through a little bit of everything that's happened over the past year with Mike McCarthy. So first of all, as you guys know, McCarthy went into a season in a lame duck year. Contract was set to expire pretty much right now. So he went into the last year of his contract with no guarantees. As you know, Jerry Jones pretty much lied to all of us and told us he was going all in. And he did the complete opposite of all in. He provided no real free agents to help make a push. And he
blamed his talent on the reason he didn't do it.
And then he slow played signing the two biggest deals that we had that needed to be done a lot sooner. Going to the season, everything bad that could happen did happen, especially on the defensive side of the ball with injuries. Despite all that, the team almost finished 500, 7-10. Came down to a last second touchdown against the Commanders. He could have went 8-9. And now this is where we are. Jerry's pretty much, in my opinion, made it seem like he thinks Mike McCarthy is going to just answer this beck and call.
That is what it seems like.
And lo and behold, Chicago last week or this week contacted the Cowboys and asked for an interview with Mike McCarthy. And Jerry Jones, being the person that he is, says, I don't care. If you want to do an interview, do an interview. And then the next day, he declined the interview, despite the fact that Mike McCarthy becomes a free agent in less than 7 days. Sorry, guys, getting over a cold. So That happened Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah.
So now we're at a situation. All these other teams with openings are starting to do interviews. We've done no interviews. There are no serious indicators of who we may be interested in. All of our assistant coaches are now out of contract.
Yeah.
And like I just mentioned before, Mike McCarthy's contract ends in less than 7 days. And for all intents and purposes, there have been no substantial conversations about what's going to happen. So that's pretty much where we are right now. I know it's a lot to digest. I'm sure you guys all follow that. I see we got Arturo Cortez Herrera joining us. Thank you for joining. And we all know he's not the problem. Jason Curtis thinks all the coaches will return. Jeff says classic Jerry Jones. Jason Curtis says BG says it's final micro return. I would have to see that to believe it.
Yeah, I haven't. There's nothing official at
It's all
all.
speculation.
People are looking for talking points right
They
now.
are.
So people are going to say things. I don't know who you're referring to, but
I would
there
probably
is
assume big game. It's BG. Is BG big game Jason Curtis? But yeah, like you said, Amanda, a lot of people right now. This is the off
they're just
season.
looking for talk. Like I saw Jason's comment and I went looking and like nothing official. So there's nothing out there official that says it. And I know people that are very what's the word here? In and I should receive a text message if there was something going on. I know that Mike's been there. He's been there for the past, like they've been talking for the past 2 days, but I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen Big Game say it either, but I haven't been watching. I've been busy.
So Jeff, actually Al Harris received a promotion last
Last year.
offseason. That's another story that's starting to kind of circulate right now. But
okay, look, I want to tell y'all something real quick too.
Go ahead.
This I want to make sure Jason, BG's been on. I love Big Game. I'm not talking about him.
My favorite podcaster.
Yeah, one of our favorite people. In fact, he used to host the first DC Farrell show. That's my guy. So I want you to know this is not in reference to him. There are a lot of pages that are run by AI now. There is money in content creating. So people go out there and will write any story they want. There was one earlier before we logged on that said Tom Brady wanted to be the head coach of the Cowboys. So people just make up content and go out there and make a post and then they let AI also write their stuff. So you got to be careful. That story is from like the Al Harris story. It's from last year. He was promoted last year, but there's nothing to write about. There has been no news. Like All Pro came out about Turpin. That's really the last piece of new news that we have gotten Cowboys related. So people are just looking for anything because Facebook or every other social media platform, if you don't post continually, like every 3 to 5 hours, if you're not regular, Facebook or whatever platform will knock you out of the algorithm. So people are just looking for stuff to post. I've been doing a lot of history posts on DC Farrell because I don't want to post non-facts, but I don't want to get out of the algorithm. So I've just been talking about former players, different things just to keep the conversation going. But right now there's nothing. There is not. And also it's worth noting that any like assistant coach, position coach, none of them have a contract. Nobody. They are all free to sign right now with anyone they want to. Anybody. Al Harris included. None of them are under contract. The only person who's still technically under contract is Mike McCarthy.
Right.
We have no coaching staff right now. I want to make sure everyone understands that. There is no coaching staff at all. I don't even think any of our position coaches are they?
No, nobody's under contract.
Nobody. They were all on 1 year. So I don't know what's going on. I'm really concerned already because are you going to make, if you're bringing Mike back, are you going to make him start all over with the new staff? If you're going to keep Mike, why didn't you do it? So he can go out, get the contracts done and retain his staff. None of this makes sense at all. And it's very reminiscent of last year with Dak and CeeDee. You knew you were going to sign them. Why'd you wait? So
let me ask you a question, Amanda. Are you surprised that Mike McCarthy may be a hot coaching option for other teams?
3 seasons, 12 wins back to back, with probably would have done more this season if Jerry Jones didn't meddle in the football operations. No, I'm not shocked.
Top offense every year.
Yeah, not shocked at all.
Won a Super Bowl, even though people want to say that's Aaron Rodgers Super Bowl, but
let's look at Dak in McCarthy's system. What was it? This is year 2 of McCarthy's system, right?
Yeah.
Like without an OC. So let's look at Dak that first year. Let's look.
Oh, you mean the second in MVP voting year?
Second in MVP. That was year 2 or year 3? Are we in year 2 or year 3 without Kellen? Kellen went to LA
He went
last
to LA
year.
for 1 year. Yeah.
Right. So this is year 2 under Mike's scheme. Look at Dak last year. And this year, you can blame it on a lot of different things. I'm not making excuses for Dak either, but there were a lot of factors there. Like the running back by committee, that's not a Mike McCarthy thing. That's a Jerry Jones thing. Yeah. That's a Jerry Jones not wanting to sign to take care of business. So no, I'm not shocked. And I won't be shocked if Chicago pays their coaches very, very well. Jerry Jones pays $4 million. The most expensive sporting franchise in the world pays in the bottom 10% of coaching. Like that's insanity to me. So,
Stephen Franco, thank you for joining us. Mike Olaskewicz, I know I butchered your last name and I apologize, but I appreciate you tuning in also. So, I ask you this question. Mike McCarthy signing with Dallas or the field, without just any particular team in name, Dallas or the field, which one are you putting your bets on? And let me know what you guys think. If you think there's a specific team.
By the field, do you mean
every other coaching opportunity that's open? Jacksonville.
I think he's
Chicago,
going to Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville sounds like he's an older guy moving to Florida. That just makes sense to me. I don't think I'd want to go to Chicago. I'm not a fan of Caleb Williams, though, so maybe that plays into it. But they pay well. I think if I was putting my money on Mike McCarthy was set up, I would be offended if I was Mike McCarthy. Jerry Jones set him up to fail and then blamed him. So yeah, I wouldn't. It just depends. I mean, the problem is he can't do anything for another today's the 9th. So he's still got 5 days officially left on his contract. I don't know. Unless something comes out Monday, I think he's going to test the waters because Jerry's going to be there. So
yeah, I mean, he holds all the leverage right now.
Jerry's yet again. Yep.
And Jerry's infinite ego.
I'm just angry at Jerry Jones.
Yeah. So I see we got a couple of questions and comments.
He thinks it's the best gig in the world.
We got a couple of questions and comments, about to get to those in a second. For me, when I look around the league, I'm leaning towards 2 teams. One of them is Jacksonville, like you said. Yeah. The other one is Chicago. And the reason I like both of those teams are all the other coaching jobs, they don't have a quarterback in place. So you look at Tennessee, I mean, they got the young kid, but he's probably gone. You look at the Raiders, they don't have a quarterback. What other open jobs are there?
Vegas.
Yeah, I said Vegas, Jacksonville, Chicago.
New England, they fired their coach.
Right.
Let's see. There's more.
New England's a possibility. But when I look, the point I was going to make was if they have a young
Indianapolis coach, did they fire Indianapolis or no? I don't remember.
I'm almost sure he is still there. But yeah, so when I look at all the other teams that have a young quarterback that they pretty much stuck with, like a Chicago and a Jacksonville, they want to get somebody who is an offensive mind and who can bring some stability to the franchise. Now, I know because Mike McCarthy's been here, we think he doesn't know how to build a franchise, but go back to his Green Bay days. He built that up.
Yes, he did.
So I think those 2 teams are going to want an older guy who can come in and work with those young quarterbacks, build around them, come in with a little bit of respect and cachet. Because when a coach comes to a team, unless there's like a veteran quarterback there, to be honest, those older guys don't really respect young coaches. Because if you look at the young hot shots like the Ben Johnsons,
I want an Aaron Glenn. I've been thinking more about it. I think I want to go defensive minds.
That was not going to happen. I'm not going to say my reason why
You
I'm
think he's
Aaron.
going to the Jets? He just finished his interview there.
Well, unfortunately,
I know what you're going to say. You don't even have to say it. So,
well, I hope this is not true. I'm not going to say it's about Dallas, but I'm going to say, unfortunately, because there's a Rooney Rule in place, every team has to interview 2 black coaching options, and I think Aaron Glenn is kind of running through that gamut right now. So we'll see if he gets a job. I doubt it this early for a defensive guy. But yeah, I'm looking at Chicago. I'm looking at Jacksonville. And we got a couple of comments. Let's see. Brian Tanner asked, do we think Jerry's building the drama with the TV docuseries coming to Dallas? You never know. It's Jerry. That's how he thinks.
I'm going to say this. If we could get him to sell the team and be an actor, because that was really impressive. I've never seen that show a day in my life, and I watched that clip. Have you seen that clip?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He did, he's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's very impressive. I was like, okay, Jerry, sell the team and go to Hollywood. Okay. But I do. Jacksonville makes the most sense to me. Chicago, I think, comes with, I think Trevor, when you look at the 2 quarterbacks, I think Trevor has more upside than Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's more stability there in place when I look at the team. That's where I'd go. He's also got 2 really good running backs right there right now. Bread and butter. So
my only concern with Jacksonville and the Raiders, and let me go through the comments real quick. Jeff says the Raiders. Arturo says the Raiders. Arturo says possibly the Bears. The only concerns I have about Jacksonville and LA is not LA, Las Vegas. Both of those teams have fired several coaches in the last 3 years.
They have.
Like, this will be Trevor Lawrence's 3rd head coach.
It'll be but I thought Doug's been there for a while though. I thought he drafted Trevor.
No, the first year.
Not the first year?
No, the first year he had the college coach. That came, I can't remember his name.
Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer. That was his first head coach. And then they hired another coach, and then Doug Peterson came in. So this will be his third or fourth. I'm not sure, but it's at least 3. So the Raiders, they gave John Gruden that mega contract. Then they brought in McDaniels.
Yeah.
Then they brought in, who was the coach they just fired before Pierce? Who got fired for Pierce to get the job?
I don't remember.
I can't even think of his name. That's 3.
I know. Yeah, there's multiple coaches.
Right. So then they paid Antonio Pierce. So the Raiders organization has 4 coaches that they're paying right now on the books, because those contracts don't just go away.
Right.
They have to still pay those contracts out. And I know with Oakland, everybody except Pierce is probably getting $10 million. Jacksonville's paying out 3 coaches, at least 3. So when I look at Chicago, when they fired Eberflus, they only have 1 contract. So if it's a bidding war, a lot of those
have the money.
Yeah, those other teams are not going to pay a 4th coach $10 or $15 million when they have 3 coaches on the books.
Makes sense.
I think Chicago is going to have the biggest wallet when it comes to paying a coach. So I kind of feel like for that reason, he may go there, and a team like Jacksonville may try to get a Bobby Slowick or some other young hotshot coordinator that they may be able to squeeze in under $10 million. Same thing for the Raiders. Now, the Raiders may give a coach ownership percentage or something ridiculous like that. But, yeah. Brian Tanner said Doug's in his 3rd year. But Doug Peterson got fired, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, Trevor Lawrence has been there for 5 years. So, yeah, maybe this would be their 3rd coach. But I know they're paying for 2 coaches right now. So you just got to remember that. Um, Jason Curtis says Trevor's a bust. As a Clemson fan, I hate to admit it, but you're right.
I, I don't know if he's been given the best opportunities, but
Yeah.
I think he has talent. I think it's just being done incorrectly. So
So yeah, Brian Tanner says Sean Payton and Bo Nix, case in point. Jason Curtis says John will return Raiders. There's no chance John Gruden
not
returns
at
with the
all.
Raiders. No chance.
Not with, isn't there a lawsuit involved too? Like,
Yeah, there
yeah,
is.
okay, yeah, no,
Actually, I think the Raiders are trying to settle with John Gruden and pay and settle on his contract.
wow.
So yeah. Brian Tanner, thank you for the update. Jets, Saints, Bears, Jags, Pats, and Raiders all
Wow.
fired their coaches.
I forgot the Saints coach was fired too.
Nobody wants the Saints job. I mean, even though the Saints front office may have money, that salary cap in St. Louis, in New Orleans, is a complete crap show. Whoever comes in is going to have at least 3 years before they can even put out a roster. You're stuck with Derek Carr for 3 more years.
Yeah.
And Derek Carr just said he's not restructuring his contract.
Yeah, he don't want to. I mean,
Right.
can you blame him?
Yeah.
And look at his injury, so injury ridden. So you're either going to have to draft a quarterback and lose valuable draft capital. So you have someone to sit behind your injury ridden quarterback.
Right.
It's a mess. So,
yeah. So
I don't know.
Jacksonville.
I think Jacksonville makes the most sense. I would not go to Chicago, but you know what? Mike's been up, and it would be fitting given like he owned the Bears for so long with with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So
he knows he knows the division.
Does.
My only concern about that Bears job is no matter how good your team is, at best you're going to finish third place for the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
At best, you're not going to be better than Detroit, Minnesota.
Man, and that's why I'd be looking at an NFC gig because the NFC is so much weaker. So if you want to take all that into account, man.
Yeah. So, Brian Tanner says when the tight end is the best quarterback on the team and second best running back. I'm sure you're talking about New Orleans with
Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill, yeah. So yeah, and thank you for that update, Brian, because I forgot all the teams that had head coaching openings. And
what is it called too on like the Monday after the season ends? There's some name. Is it called Black Monday?
Black Monday, yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
There were people getting fired that Sunday though. There were people not waiting. Oh yeah, yes,
Arturo. You forgot the Titans too, Brian. That's another team looking for a coach.
Arturo, we saw it. Okay, we saw what Micah said. He's crazy.
We'll talk about that in a second.
We'll get there.
Yeah. So Amanda, looking at this list and including the Titans, and we'll talk about Mike McCarthy some more. Which one of these jobs do you think is the best and the worst? Just curious, not Cowboys.
Worst. I wouldn't go anywhere near the Jets job.
Okay.
That division's a nightmare. I'd want absolutely nothing to do with it. I'm not going anywhere up there.
So you think that's the worst job?
I do think that's the worst job.
So I'm assuming you think the Jags is the best job.
Okay, so I think Robert Kraft pays really well. So if I had to I don't know. Oh man, I do. I'm just trying to think like Florida, sunny Florida, and it's near Bryan. So, I'm going to give it to, but Jags would be my ideal job. Jets is the worst. There's so much mess in New York. I wouldn't touch that with like 5 other coaches in front of me if I was Mike McCarthy, like on a stick. I wouldn't no, I'd want nothing to do with that job. So I do think the Jags is the best job. The Bears, you're never going to get anywhere. I'm just looking. The Saints, though, that's one thing that makes it a little. The Saints is outside of the Derek Carr situation. That division is very wide open. You could go in and find success there. They all volley around 8 and 9, 9 and 8. If you look at Tampa Bay, Atlanta, that's a division you could really go into and have an opportunity to go in and win a division on your first year. So I'm trying to look at all the things.
Thanks for the update, Brian.
But yeah, So it's either the Jags or the Saints job, but the quarterback situation in New Orleans would turn me away.
Same.
But at the same time, do you think Trevor Lawrence has it? That's you're stuck with Trevor too because his contract's ridiculously
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you look at all the options. Like, do you stick with Dak, who look at what he did last year, and you have a generational talent in Micah? You get Overshown back, who looks to be another generational talent linebacker if you can keep him healthy. I mean, you have a 12th pick. You go in, get a running back ground. I mean, when I look at it, unfortunately, I keep thinking that the Cowboys is the best option for him, and that makes me very sad.
For Mike McCarthy?
For Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Unless he's just tired of the drama. I mean,
that was my next question.
Yeah.
The only issue I have about people when they talk about coaches, people think teams can bring in a coach and they're going to be Super Bowl contenders. I don't put Super Bowl contender in consideration when I look at these jobs, because if they're firing their coach, they're a bad team.
Right.
Now, if you're lucky enough to get a Sean Payton or a Jim Harbaugh, and you're good enough to make that team competitive enough to be a 5-6 seed in the playoffs, that is a slam dunk, home run, touchdown,
right,
coaching hire. That's the best you can ask for. But I hate when I hear people say, well, I don't want to bring in this coach because he can't win us a Super Bowl.
No team is a coach away from a Super Bowl.
Exactly. Especially not within the first 2 to 3 years. So I try to take division into consideration, especially for like that Bears job. But for the other ones, I'm looking at who can build something in a short period of time with the bones that they have in place. So with that being in mind, I would probably put Jags and Pats at the top.
Yeah.
I want to put the Bears there, but that division is just brutal. And I agree 100%. That Jets job, when the owner's son is making personnel decisions based off of Madden and they're listening to him, I want no parts of that organization. Jeff, Eric Bieniemy is not getting the NFL. He may not get another NFL job again.
No,
yeah,
not going to do it. And I guess, and honestly, Eric should have never left the Chiefs.
Yeah.
He walked out on a dynasty. I would have never done that. I don't care how much money they were offering me, because your name in the books is much more important than money when it comes to what you're going to do after you're done coaching. So I understand progression and moving forward in your career, but I don't know if I could have walked away from Patrick Mahomes knowing what he was capable of.
So. I would have been the Chase Daniels of offensive coordinators. You know what Chase Daniels is?
Yeah.
The career backup quarterback who's made like $30 million to play like 15 snaps of football. Yep. I'm trying to be that guy.
You're with the Chief.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, I thought that was, I mean, he played his cards right. Might end up with another Super Bowl ring doing absolutely nothing.
Nothing. So. Yeah. So we'll come at the coaching, because good question here from Arturo Cortez. There's been talk about the Tyreek Hill, and it looks like some site has the Cowboys as 3-1 favorites.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a possibility? I looked at the contract. From a contract standpoint, it is actually possible.
It is possible. I looked at it. Oh, man. First of all, I don't know if there's a house big enough in Dallas that I can think of that would house Tyreek and all of his children. I'm kidding. That was funny though. I needed to get rid of that joke. I've had it he reminds me of Nick Cannon. He's always it seems like every few months he's like, I had another kid. It's like, man, Tyreek, you are busy. Like,
I agree.
And Tyreek fell off this year. And one thing that bugs me about Tyreek Hill is when the going gets tough somewhere, he decides it's time to go. I do want to remind everyone that when Tyreek Hill made his list of top 5 quarterbacks, I think you could take one off because he had to put that quarterback on there because he was playing with him.
Yeah.
I think you can take 2 off that list. But Dak Prescott was on his list. Tyreek and Dak have worked out in the offseason. There's video floating around out there somewhere. I think Tyreek, they did some kind of like camp or something. As a number 2 behind CD, that would be absolutely insane. But I'm sorry, I do not think Tyreek Hill's coming to Dallas. I've told everybody in the middle of the season. I told people in the admin chat a couple days ago, and I will die on this hill. Our number 2 receiver next year will be Stephon Diggs.
Diggs, yeah,
There is
I agree.
no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Stephon Diggs will be a Cowboy next year. Like I've almost went to a site and put something down on it, because if there's a place to do that, I probably should, because I'm almost positive Stephon will be a Cowboy. He voided the years on his contract to get to Houston. He came to Houston to make it easier on his mother. So when she traveled between his and Trevon's games, it was easier. What's easier than mama only having to go to one game? I'm coming off an injury. It's literally Jerry Jones's dream situation.
He has
Jerry
no
loves
leverage.
no leverage at all. I think that makes the most sense. So I think that if you're looking at big name receivers that are coming to Dallas, and he did play well up until his injury, he was doing very well in Houston. I got to give him that. He had impressed me. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to head coaching. But great question, Arturo. I want to just kind of pivot just to answer your question before we get too deep. So back to Mike McCarthy. So did you say you're taking the Cowboys or the field, Amanda?
Man, I don't want to answer because, see, I think I know, but I want to be wrong.
Okay.
I'm afraid he's going to come back, and it's not because I want him back. The only way he's not coming back is if if what really happened is what the perception of what Jerry did to him, if like with setting him up for failure, because that's what it appears like.
Yeah.
As a fan looking into the organization, it feels like he was set up for failure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say the field.
Okay.
And really, really hope a lot. Yeah. It would be money, and like more say so would pull him away. Yeah. If someone offers him more money and say so, of course he's going to leave.
Yeah.
But it might be easier to stay too.
So I made a tweet about this a couple of days ago. Like I talked about it starting the show off. All the stuff I said starting the show off. But then you look at the fact Jerry's pretty much said this year's offseason is going to mimic last year's offseason. So you're not getting any help anymore. All your coaches are gone. And more likely than not, Jerry's going to pick the offensive coordinator because he does not want Mike McCarthy calling plays. You're not going to be paid as a top 15 head coach. And on top of that, it's already been reported that other teams do have interest, because I think Jerry feels like in his ultimate ego, the Cowboys is the place everybody wants to be. We've seen how that works in free agency. It's going to be the same thing when it comes to the head coaching. So for me, I'm taking the field over the Cowboys. When Jerry pretty much made that comment about, I'm gonna let him, if he wants to do an interview, could do an interview, and then he blocked the interview. For me, I feel like that was the last straw. Like the disrespect is just way too high. You're letting me ride this down to the 11th hour. I'm gonna go test the field, and I already know your contract is gonna be one of the lowest. So why would I lock in when I'm 5 days away from doing an interview with Chicago or Jacksonville or even the Jets? Even though it's a terrible job, the Jets are going to pay him a little bit of money because they have the money. So with that being said, and thank you, Jason Curtis and Jeff, I'm going to come back to your Ty Hill question in a second. So I think we're both taking the field, Amanda. So if we're taking the field, give me 3 coaches that you think will be realistic, because at Fifth Quarter Podcast, we're all about realism. We're not going to give you Ben Johnson because it's not happening. We're not going to give you whoever, Robert Saleh. That's not happening. who are your realistic options for a Cowboys coach? You can give me 3. I have 5, by the way.
I think I already know if
You're
you
gonna hate
gave
all of them. Just to put it out there. Let me give a caveat first. These are not who I want. I'm going by how the Cowboys operate. These are the names that I see as options. You all are gonna probably exit the live when I give you these 5 names, but I want to let you know these are not my top choices.
I think I'm just go. I know I'm not trying to interrupt, but my
Go ahead.
first choice is the one. Jeff, you can't say that. You can't jump in front of me, Jeffrey, because then it makes it look like I'm copying anybody. It's Kellen Moore, and I don't want that. But that's the answer. Mike Vrabel, maybe. I don't know. I think Vrabel's going to end up with the Jets. Honestly, that's kind of my thought process. Defensive-minded guy, but if I had to name it, so Kellen Moore is most likely going to happen.
Okay.
That would be. That's my answer, and I know that's terrible.
Do you have any other options you may like?
Yeah, so Vrabel,
I don't
Pete
think Vrabel's
Carroll.
an option.
You don't think so?
I,
Rex Ryan interviewed last year, so that's one of my what not last year with Mike McCarthy or for DC. He interviewed against Mike Zimmer, right? Rex Ryan did, right?
it
Right?
was Rex Ryan, Mike
And
Zimmer,
Zimmer, okay.
and who? The coach for
Um,
the Commanders. I just
uh,
went blank.
Cliff Kingsbury? No.
No, the coach that got fired
Um, now I can't think. My brain's not
from the
working.
Panthers.
Yeah, I can't remember. Sorry. I wish I remembered, but I don't know. I think Pete Carroll's on the list.
Ron Rivera.
Yeah, okay. I think Pete Carroll's an interesting option. He's an
Okay.
older guy, old school. I don't even think it. I'm just trying to give you 5 because I'm pretty sure that number 1 would be the answer. Um, what? It's true.
Yeah.
I'm just being upfront. Who is it? Now I can't think. My brain just like broke.
You don't
Go
have to give me 5. I have 5. You don't have to give me 5.
ahead. You give me 5. I don't
Okay.
think Ron Rivera is coming, and
You
unless they're
don't.
answering. I hope y'all aren't trying to go. We're not selling down that river.
I'm gonna
Um,
give you 7 actually.
Cliff Kingsbury, I think, is also another option because I think Jerry's very egotistical, and I think he would love to take the coach from Dan Quinn. That Dan Quinn, because Dan left him.
Uh-huh.
I think that would. And then Doug Peterson is also, unfortunately, a ridiculous option that sounds
Yeah.
very Jerry-like. But
So
Kellen Moore is the answer. I can't get over it. I think that he's now been around, and Jerry seen him. If Philly gets to, I'm telling you, if Philly makes some progression in the playoffs this year, and we lose Mike McCarthy, I guarantee you Kellen Moore's interviewing for that head coach job. There's something that Jerry's like in love with him. It's like his illegitimate child. I don't know, but there's something about Kellen Moore. And no, Deion Sanders is not coming here.
no, he's not an option.
Not at all. He's going to be
So
in New York somehow with Dable because that's where Shadur is probably going.
yeah. So let me just give you my criteria based off of what I've seen the past 25 years in coaches. Number 1, we all know he's going to be cheap. Ben Johnson has pretty much came out and said, wherever I go, I want to be one of the highest paid coaches,
Yep.
and I want to have a very strong say in terms of personnel. So anybody who said Ben Johnson, you can scratch that out in ink, rip up the paper, throw it away. Number 2, Jerry loves names. He likes to market. So any coach he brings in is going to be some name from the past that we all recognize. It's going to be some veteran coach that's been around for a long time. It's going to be somebody who's good in front of the microphone. So that's the second one. Number 3, he likes a coach that has Super Bowl experience. So it's either a coach who's been to a Super Bowl or a coach that's won a Super Bowl. Because in his mind, if you've done it, you can get me back. If you don't have Super Bowl experience, you have to have Cowboys ties. So you had to have been a former position coach. You had to have been a backup quarterback. Something to that effect. The last one, it has to be somebody who is not going to give Jerry a lot of pushback. So it's going to be somebody who is looking for an opportunity. So it's going to be a guy who lost his job, who's not a hot name, um, who left the NFL on a bad note, and nobody's really giving him a chance. And he wants to use the Cowboys as a springboard to get his name back into the coaching market. Now, with those criteria, I'm going to give you guys the names that I'm looking at. First name, obvious, Kellen Moore. If the Eagles go to the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl, Kellen Moore is going to be our head coach. There's no two ways about it. Jerry's going to push that the the prodigal son returning. We had differences. He didn't have enough experience. He went out and got his experience. Now he's ready to come back. You guys have put some interesting names up here. Bill Cowher, no. Bill Cowher could take a job at any point on any team. He's like Sean Payton. Sean Payton left, came back, got the job he wanted, top salary, got to pick his quarterback. Bill Cowher would be the same way. Tony Dungy, I don't think Tony Dungy would ever come back to coaching. It would be a cold day in hell before this one happened, Angela. Jeff says Chip Kelly. That one was a borderline on my list, but not enough NFL success. Bill Belichick wants way. He can get out of it, but he wants way too much control.
Yeah.
On top of that, anybody who wants to sign Bill Belichick would have to buy out his contract. And Jerry's not going to buy somebody's contract out and then pay them to be a coach. No chance. Wade Phillips, no. That bridge got burnt and salt was poured over the ashes.
Huh.
So Jeff stole one of mine.
I had that on my list.
Yeah, I see you put that. John Gruden fits all the criteria. He's getting paid from the Raiders, so he's getting money already.
He can be cheap.
He has one of the most recognizable names of any coach that's not coaching right now. Super Bowl winner. He's in the middle of a bunch of lawsuits. Name got slung around the mud. He has no leverage to come back. So I think that's another guy top of the list. Ron Rivera's on the list. Same things. Super Bowl with the Panthers. Recognizable name. Played in the conference. Keep the rivalry going with the Commanders. Another name that hasn't been talked about is Matt Eberflus. He just got fired from Chicago, but he has very strong Cowboys ties. If not for Jerry's love of Monty Kiffin, Eberflus would have probably been the head coach after Jason Garrett. But Eberflus was tired of waiting for Garrett and Kiffin to get out of the way. Yeah. So that's another one that I'm watching. And then the last one, Amanda, you mentioned it, Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll left the sidelines. Seattle's doing pretty good. His contract just expired.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantees they're going to bring him back.
It was very Sean Payton-like. If y'all remember, no one could sign Sean because he was still technically under contract. So he took that year off.
Yep.
And then he came back.
And
Pete Carroll just announced he's interviewing Adam Schefter just announced that he's interviewing with Vegas. He already completed his interview with Chicago, so now he's going to Vegas. I can only hope that if Jerry doesn't intend to keep Mike McCarthy, that he's actually on the phone with somebody and, silently, like, the quiet conversation. Not that Jerry does anything quietly, but we need to be doing something. This is a mess. Because you need to figure out what your personnel is going to be so you can start looking at your college players, because every coach runs a different system. Like that's why I think Kellen Moore really fits the whole, because like the offense has not changed that much since Kellen left. We're doing different things, but it's still very much Kellen Moore's offense. Dak, as much as Kellen's running the ball. Maybe Jerry's the one who doesn't let him run the ball, because look at what Saquon Barkley's done.
Yep,
I
exactly.
mean, so we always complain Kellen didn't run the ball enough. Everybody knows it. Now
Yeah.
you get him there and he's running the ball like crazy in Philly.
Yep.
Like,
And Jeff can
so
attest to this. I don't normally draft Saquon Barkley. I hate him as a fantasy player, but I told him the reason I took Barkley this year is because I believe Kellen Moore believes in running the ball, and they're going to finally show it in Philly. So definitely, I think he's starting to get his own scheme implemented. Jeff says might as well promote Zimmer. I think Zimmer was a favor hire.
yeah,
Nobody wanted to touch the job, in my opinion. I
yeah,
think
no
Zimmer
one
was
wanted
cheap.
it.
Yeah, he's a close friend of Jerry. He just said, "Give me 1 year, get me through Mike McCarthy's contract."
Yeah.
The Steelers' defensive coordinator is Terrell Austin. Him and Mike Tomlin are like this. He's not going anywhere. Josh Treadway says Russell made Pete's career. He's a player's coach. We need somebody with more attitude. That's one of those things. We're not getting attitude in Dallas.
Yeah.
That's for one. They ran Chris Richard out of town, and they made it seem like he was going to be next in line to be the head coach. They got him out of here quick.
Yep, because
we're not getting attitude, coach.
We're not going to get anyone that's going to stand up to Jerry.
Yep.
Jerry wants a yes man. The only thing about Kellen that gives me a glimmer of hope is there's something about Kellen Moore's relationship with Jerry Jones. And it almost maybe makes me wonder if Kellen could get more of his way. You know what I mean? Because, seriously, they have a very tight relationship. It's going to have to take someone who can sweet talk Jerry into doing it, not a tell Jerry, but convince Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to get a coach who can come in and talk Jerry's talk to get him convinced to do it his way.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm paying attention to all those names. I don't think we'll go young unless he can't get an old guy for cheap. But I don't even think he can get the young guys for cheap anymore. Definitely not Ben Johnson. Probably not Bobby Slowick. Brian Tanner asked, I think this is Clint Kubiak. I don't know which Arians you're referring to.
Bruce Arians?
Maybe Bruce. I don't know if that's the Arians he's speaking about. Let me know, Brian, which Arians are you talking about? If it's Bruce Arians, it's not happening.
I would love someone from the two trees, the Kubiak coaching tree or the Shanahan coaching tree. Those are the best, but those also cost money. And for some reason, Mr. Richest sports franchise in the world doesn't want to pay their head coach over $5 million a year. So,
but if there's any young coach, I think it could be Kingsbury, because I think he burned a lot of bridges with that whole Cardinals situation
in Arizona.
Yeah. And the whole Cardinals situation, and he had to go back to college, and Dan Quinn gave him an opportunity. So I think he would be cheap enough. He's not gonna rock the boat too much. So if there's any young coach, I think Kingsbury may be the only one.
Oh man, this is such a mess. I guess we'll know more. What is it? So the 11th is Saturday. So what? The 14th is a Tuesday?
Wednesday. Yeah, next Wednesday.
All right, next Wednesday we'll know, I guess.
Yeah, we will. But I definitely, I don't feel like Mike McCarthy's going to resign.
I'm sorry.
Who is Joystick?
Kellen Moore. I'm pretty sure, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's got to be Kellen.
Jeff says Kyle Shanahan. Again, I think that's too much money.
Well, that and Shanahan ain't getting fired. Really? Yeah. I think the problem is they're realizing that the players elevated Brock Purdy and not the other way around. So, yeah.
So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have in terms of coaching. I'm looking for one of those veteran names to pop up out of nowhere. I just don't. I know people say Mike Vrabel. I can see why you would think that, but I don't see him coming to another team unless he has control. Like, I know he's considered a great coach. I don't think he's going to put himself in a situation to fail again, because if he fails twice, he's done. And I don't think he ever had to be a DC, did he? Didn't he go straight to head coaching?
I don't know. I
Because
think he did.
I remember there was one point where just anybody who was on Bill Belichick's coaching staff was getting jobs. Like, I think Mike Vrabel may have been a linebackers coach and got a head coaching job, and then the other guy was a receivers coach and he got a head coaching job in New York. I think they both got hired at the same time. Remember the guy before Dayball? He was a wide receivers coach
right
with the Patriots, and he just got a head coaching job.
Yes. I'm sitting here looking to see, because someone on Twitter just said that there was news about Mike McCarthy too, and I'm trying to find it, but I don't see it.
Yeah. Again, I just think it's a lot of speculation. Nah, it's not going to be Dion. If anybody's going to push back, okay, he said he was a special teams coach. Yeah, I knew he wasn't a coordinator. But yeah, if anybody's going to push back and take the limelight from Jerry, it would be Deion Sanders. There's no way that happens. If Jerry was upset that the media was giving Jimmy Johnson credit, do you think he's going to bring somebody in there who's his own biggest cheerleader, who's going to do just as many interviews, if not more than him? No way.
Take some of his shine.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. He said Vrabel was a DC in Houston 2017. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Good to know.
I still don't see Vrabel coming to Dallas, though. I just don't see it. I would love if it did happen, but the other problem is you're not picking your coaches when you come to Dallas.
Nope. Jerry's
you may get one guy, but everybody else, Jerry loves a head coach as his coordinators.
Yeah.
So whatever side of the ball is your specialty, the coordinator on the other side of the ball is going to be a head coach in waiting.
So do you think that if Mike McCarthy stays, does that make Al Harris our DC?
No, I don't see it. Unfortunately, I don't see it.
I don't know.
Because if they were going to make him a DC, they could have made him a DC last year instead of hiring Zimmer.
I just wonder if they wanted him to have one more year, because they did make him assistant and they didn't want to like jump it up, so they made him the assistant.
That's a possibility.
And they gave him one more year. I still, it wouldn't surprise me if to do some crazy thing, bring in, Al Harris as the head coach of everything. He's in-house. Jerry knows him, but I think Al might be more fiery than Jerry would even like. I don't think Al would take, do what I say.
I don't either.
So.
Too young.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other thing I was going to bring up. You're not bringing a defensive head coach in who's going to kind of be a corporate guy. Those defensive guys are maniacs, especially if you get a young one.
The lunatic, before you answer, look, Witten, here's the thing with Witten. I do think that at some point, Jason Witten will be the coach of the Cowboys. I think the storyline's there, but Jason Witten has, so one son just committed to Rice. He's a linebacker. His son, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but he just committed to Rice. He has one more son. I believe he's going into his junior year. He's not leaving Liberty Christian until his children are out of school. I just don't see it happening. So I think that it is possible to see. I do think Witten will be here eventually. It's things of history, it's like the things of legend. It's just Jason Witten, and I think he'll be a really good coach. I mean, he's coached his team to back-to-back championships. Now look, it's high school football, but when you find consistency in that, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him once his next son graduates high school, his youngest graduates, if you see him move to the college as a positions coach at wherever his sons are. I think that it's very, very plausible. And I do look to Jerry here in about 3 years to draft his son, if he can, as a linebacker. So His son's a pretty good linebacker too.
Yeah.
I've watched. He's really good. His school's not far from here, so
yeah. Amanda,
yeah.
Witten's not going to college if Jerry wants him. He's going to
You
be
think we
our
can go bring him right in? Really?
right in, no question.
No,
I
like
mean,
what is it? OC? You just
no,
going to
not as
drop
the
him right?
OC, but like the tight ends coach,
Okay,
assistant,
I can see that. I just figure, I
assistant
mean,
pass coordinator, something like that. I mean, he did it with Leon Lett forever. Leon Lett's been here 20 years.
that's true. So you see, he gets this other kid graduated. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you think Jerry calls him and says, "Hey, come be my tight ends coach," and that puts it a year removed from when his other son would be, possibly committing because
Yeah.
they're a 3-year difference. So then he says, "I'll draft your son." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'll draft. I mean, and we already and Witten can already look at the history. Look at Deuce. We draft parents or coaches' kids. It's something that we do. So I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Witten. I think Witten's got what it takes. I just like his attitude. I think we need more people like Jason Witten. So I think it'd be great, but not yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely see assistant tight ends coach, passing game coordinator. I don't think he'd ever be offensive coordinator, but I could definitely see him going from pass game coordinator to head coach and just skipping a step just because he's got that type of personality. Great. Jeff asked good question. Bones Fossil is head coach. I don't think Fossil has the look that Jerry likes for a head coach. Kind of a I don't want to talk bad about him, but he doesn't look like he looks kind of weak.
Huh?
I mean, he's just a small, frail guy. Kind of quirky. Yeah, kind of quirky, nerdy looking. I don't think Jerry would go for that as the coach of the Cowboys.
He reminds me of Mike McDaniels. Like in the look, kind of like,
exactly.
The frailness.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm kind of shocked he still has his job too.
I mean, he discovered Turpin.
Who? Mike McDaniel? Oh, no, I'm talking about Mike McDaniel. Yeah, I was talking about Mike McDaniels. I was actually expecting him to get fired this year because I actually felt like that was a possibility for Dallas. If we did go younger, that would be a route that Jerry would go. I don't know why. Just he was on as one of the thoughts of who we could bring in. So
Mike McDaniel's spot is secured because I don't think anybody else wants to touch that Tua situation.
Tua?
Yeah. Unless a coach can get rid of Tua, I don't think anybody would take that job.
Tua should have got rid of himself, Marcus.
Yeah.
That's just ugh.
I'm glad he made it through the rest of the season healthy, but
Me too.
Still a lot of football left to play.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, Brian Tanner said, let's start a push for Gary Kubiak or Clint, his son. I think Clint is the pass game coordinator for the Niners. That's a guy that's high on my list. Name that we recognize. I think he's too young. Great point, the lunatic. Something, and we're at 1:15. Amanda, we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
After I go through these comments. So thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. I said we're gonna go an hour today, but the conversation just was so good. We went a little bit over, but we got a long off season, and we definitely got a lot more to discuss in terms of the team. Talking about Will McClay, something a lot of people aren't talking about. So thank you, the lunatic. I think his contract did expire. Now, Will McClay was another one of those guys who pretty much said, I'm not leaving until my son graduates because he's heavily involved in his son's life. I don't think his son is a senior this year. I think we may have another 1 or 2 years. So I feel like McClay may stick around if his son's still in high school. If he graduates in May, that's another story. But definitely something you got to pay attention to. And if anybody has an inside scoop on whether or not Will McClay's son graduates this year, please let me know in the comments. Brian Tanner said his son has to go play for Penn State if he wants to play for Dallas. Looks that way. Number 11 for Penn State looks really good. And I'll just leave it at that for when we go to draft talk. Weak is what Jerry wants. I agree, Jeff, but Jerry's all about image. And if you have a coach on the sideline, you want a young-looking guy, chest out, stocky. I don't think he would go for the frail, the skinny, frail looking coaches. I mean, Kellen Moore just has a young face, but he doesn't look like a small, frail coach. Josh Treadway, I won't read the whole thing. He says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. Y'all don't think Jerry tries something different? Because what we're doing now isn't working. Now, let me say this, Josh Treadway. You're thinking logical. Since 2000, when has Jerry changed his tune? I'm not making this my coaching criteria. I'm not making this up from what I've seen for the last 3 years. I'm going back to 2000 with the string of coaches, the Dave Campos and the Jason Garretts and the Mike Nolans, and what other coaches am I missing in between there? Phillips. All of these coaches meet the criteria I've talked about. So he's been doing the same thing for 30 years. And based off of his interviews, he's even more dug in now than he was 20 years ago in wanting things done his way. I don't think you can teach an old dog new tricks, as much as I hate to say it. Brian, I haven't worn them yet, but I'm definitely rocking with them.
The socks.
I actually got them right here. My first pair of Dallas Cowboys socks. So thank you, Brian Tanner. We do a Secret Santa with the admin group, and he got me the socks. So I definitely appreciate that. I'm wearing
Marcus
one
was my
tonight.
Yeah, look, Marcus was my Secret Santa, and he knocked it out of the park. Okay, Marcus is like the king of Secret Santa right now. I love it.
Really,
it is great.
I'm glad
yes,
you like it.
I'm so glad he got me a really awesome. I've been wanting a new bed set, and he got it for me. He's the legend. Marcus wins.
It came with the blanket, the Cowboys blanket,
yeah,
too,
and
right?
the Cowboys blanket too. Yep, got both. I have to keep the blanket hidden because my youngest loves it because it's so soft. I'm like, no. I like stuff it in my pillowcase so he won't take it because he runs off with all my blankets. I'm trying to see when Will McClay's contract expires, by the way. That's what I've been sitting here messing with, trying to see when it expires because he just re-signed it in 2022.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so the Lunatic, Mike McDonald getting $10 million a year. Jerry's going to have Handcraft sign the head coach we want. I forgot about the Big Tuna. Yep. So, yeah, Jerry has a type. It's going to be an older guy. It's going to be a veteran with a big name that's won a Super Bowl. To me, that was probably the biggest anomaly from all the other ones because I think he lied to him and told him he'd get to pick his own groceries, and then when he got here, changed his tune.
Put him on a different diet. Gave him a different diet.
Well, even though he did give him 2 draft picks, and both of them turned out, well, one turned out bad and one was awful. The Barbie Carpenter, that was his draft pick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he tried that before. I do need a Bluff City hat or a DC. We have DC 4L hats.
We do, yeah.
So I'm going to look on the site for that one because I need another gray hat because most of my hats are blue or black. My birthday is next Thursday, by the way. Just putting it out there. Jerry did say no GM has done an effing better job as him. Oh, the humility. So, look, Josh Treadway, that statement right there lets you know how insane he is.
The lunatic. Jerry is the most humble man I have ever seen. What are you talking about? He doesn't talk about himself. He doesn't give himself any credit. Right. He's always letting others shine. He don't go out there and get in the way and talk to people after games when we lost, which you never see another owner in this world getting interviewed after a team does bad except Jerry Jones. Mm-hmm. Like, why is there a press conference with the owner after every, like, what? I'm sorry. It's just very bizarre to
somebody
me.
On one of those talking head shows pointed something out that I didn't think about. If you look at Jerry's interviews, they're literally against the wall outside the locker room.
Yep.
They're not at the podium like everybody else in the world does. And they're like 1995, where everybody just has to put their mic an inch from his face and he talks. He's the only person who does interviews like that now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Good old Jerry.
Yeah.
Man.
All right, so we're at an hour and 20 minutes. Spent the whole time talking about head coaching drama. So definitely felt good to get back on the bike. We've missed a couple of weeks because of the holidays and just my schedule was ridiculous. But we are definitely going to be coming back this offseason. We got a lot to talk about. If we do pick a head coach, we'll be back next week. I may be back next week anyway, because I do want to talk about the last 4 weeks of the season and kind of recap what I saw, what we can look forward to or not look forward to going into next year. I'm sure we'll probably be seeing Amanda join us a lot as well during the offseason. I have a couple of guests lined up as we get closer to draft time who are going to come in and talk about positions. We had Dom come in last year. I'll probably get him again this year. And I got a couple other guys who will be swinging through. So we got a lot to cover this offseason when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. So make sure that you guys continue to rock with us. We may switch to Thursday nights during the offseason. We'll see. But if not, you can always look for us every Wednesday night, 8:30 Central Standard Time. It'll be Wednesday or Thursday for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Views were great tonight. You guys really brought it in the comments.
Yes, thank you.
Make sure you like, make sure you share, and if you haven't done so, also make sure you subscribe. Make sure you vote for Amanda for Fan of the Year. Be sure to keep following her journey as she tries to bring it home for Cowboys Nation. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Definitely appreciate all your support.
Yes,
this
thank
show
you so much.
Is fueled by Cowboys Nation, and we could not do it without you guys. So, Amanda, any other closing words before we go?
I'm going to work on getting a few pretty awesome guests to come on too and join us and kind of talk Cowboys football. It's the off season, so my options are a little more open. Try to get some good people in. Marcus, as always, thank you. I'll probably be popping in. I really miss coming on here and talking football because no one in my house wants to hear me talk football anymore. So it gives me an outlet. But oh, you're welcome, Jeff. Was Jeff one of our fantasy leagues?
Oh, yeah. Shouts out to Jeff. Jeff has been playing in DC4L fantasy football leagues for 3 years. Yeah. And 2 out of the 3 years he's won. So big ups to you. He's playing in competitive leagues. He's not playing in the $5, $10 leagues. He's playing.
He plays in the 50, and so he won a signed CeeDee Lamb jersey this year. And then 2 years ago, he won, or no, maybe 3 years ago. It was the first year he played. He won a signed CeeDee Lamb full-size helmet. So we got all sorts of stuff. And William Wiggins is, I see you popping in. Welcome in. I just want to thank him because I could not find, like, everything went wrong to get his prize out that I owed him. Mm-hmm. Everything went wrong, and I felt so bad. And then I sent it, and it never got there. So he was so patient with me. William Wiggins got his first piece of signed memorabilia for waiting so patiently and kind. So thank you for popping in. I appreciate you, William, being patient with me. And now he's got his first piece of signed memorabilia because I got that out to him. Finally, we got it there. So thank you, sir.
Great job, William Wiggins. Congratulations on that. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys continue to rock with us. I'm not gonna jump right into draft because we're realistic on this show. The way the Cowboys operate, they are going to go free agency first. Then they're going to see who they can sign for cheap. And then based off what positions they feel, then they look at the draft. So we're going to spend the first month talking about a recap of the season, and then we're going to talk about free agency. I'm going to explain the salary cap. I'm going to explain some of the things you can look for in a free agent or what positions we're going to look at. Kind of a rehash of what we did last year, and then we're going to gear up in late March to start talking about the draft season. So make sure you guys stick with that. Going to be a lot of great content coming up. Appreciate you guys' support. And we will see you guys shortly, probably as early as next week, depending on what happens with the coaching staff. Hope you guys enjoy the NFL playoffs, even though we're not there. And hopefully we see Amanda on the big screen at the Super Bowl for winning Fan of the Year. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you tuning in. And as always, let's go Cowboys. You guys have a good night.
Bye, y'all.